In a busy city in Korea, where the streets bustled with ambition and whispers of success, the Kim family lived in a home where dreams had already been set in stone. To the world, the Kims were perfect. Dr. Kim Hyun-sik, a respected surgeon, and Dr. Park Ji-young, a beloved academic. Their two eldest sons, Sang-hoon and Min-jun, had followed closely in their footsteps, becoming brilliant lawyers destined for wealth and recognition. Kim Joon-ho, a passionate musician and the youngest son in a family of doctors and lawyers, Joon-ho defies expectations to pursue his dream. He grows from a misunderstood teenager to a successful artist, with music as his refuge and voice. Yoon-ho, a quiet, artistic girl who believes in Joon-ho's talent, Ha-eun inspires and supports him throughout his journey. She becomes his emotional anchor, symbolizing love, loyalty, and unwavering faith. Kim Sang-hoon, the eldest, serious brother who initially follows the family's ideal path as a successful lawyer, but learns to respect Joon-ho's unique choices by the story's end. Kim Min-jun, the charming middle brother, also a lawyer, who comes to admire Joon-ho's perseverance and individuality as he witnesses his growth. Dr. Kim Hyun-sik, Joon-ho's stern father, a surgeon who dismisses music as foolish but eventually recognizes the value in his son's dreams and success. Dr. Park Ji-young, Joon-ho's mother, torn between family expectations and maternal love, who gradually embraces her son's musical journey as she sees him flourish. Park Seo-joon, a sharp-eyed music producer who discovers Joon-ho's raw talent and gives him the opportunity to share his music with the world. But the youngest, Joon-ho, marched to a beat no one else seemed to hear. At 16, while Sang-hoon prepared case briefs and Min-jun impressed courtroom mentors, Joon-ho filled notebooks with music. While other students memorized textbooks for exams, he memorized lyrics no one had heard yet. In the quiet of his small room, Joon-ho strummed an old guitar, losing himself in chords that made his heart feel alive. School offered him both routine and refuge, far from the cold gazes and disappointed sighs of his family. It was here that he first saw her Ha-eun. She was the quiet girl who sat near the window in art class, always drawing. Joon-ho first noticed her sketching beneath a tree on campus, lost in her own little world. That day, as he played piano in an empty music room, Ha-eun quietly listened by the doorway. From that moment on, music became their shared world. They spent hours together, Joon-ho playing, Ha-eun sketching. "It's beautiful," she once whispered, staring at the unfinished lyrics in his notebook. She believed in his dream even when he didn't know if he had the strength to believe himself. But life was not so kind. His father's voice hit like thunder one evening at the dinner table. "Music will never feed you, Joon-ho. It's nonsense." Sang-hoon and Min-jun sat silently, their achievements lining the walls as evidence of the correct path. Joon-ho's face burned with shame. "Why can't you be like your brothers?" his father demanded. In those moments, when his family seemed to turn their backs, he ran to the one thing that understood him, music. One night, Ha-eun grabbed his hand and whispered, "You have something no one else does, Joon-ho. Share it." At a tiny open mic night in a hidden cafe, Joon-ho performed a song he'd written for Ha-eun, a song of quiet love, unwavering faith, and dreams waiting to bloom. His voice, raw and unpolished, wrapped around the room, reaching a lone man seated in the corner. His name was Park Seo-joon, a well-known music producer. The next day, Seo-joon handed him a card and said, "You have something special, kid. Let's make music together." For Joon-ho, everything changed. Music, once confined to his tiny room and small notebooks, began to ripple through the world. Late nights turned into album recordings, small cafes turned into packed venues, and struggles turned into hope. At his very first concert, the stadium glowed with thousands of lights, swaying like waves in the dark. There, on stage, Joon-ho stood under the spotlight, singing with every ounce of his soul, finally free. In the crowd, he spotted them, his family. Sang-hoon and Min-jun sat in awe, proud for the first time of their younger brother's path. His mother wept quietly, tears of joy rolling down her face. And his father, Dr. Kim Hyun-sik, the man who had once called music foolish, nodded with silent respect. Later that night, backstage, Joon-ho sank onto a bench, breathless but smiling. He wasn't thinking of applause, of fame, or even the journey behind him. Ha-eun stood before him, tears glistening in her eyes, a sketchbook in her hands, and a smile brighter than any stage light. "You did it," she whispered. Joon-ho looked at her, hands calloused from years of guitar strings, and said softly, "We did it." Because sometimes dreams don't come with instructions. Sometimes they're messy, hard to hold, and impossible for others to understand. But when you fight for them, they're worth everything. And so, Joon-ho's music, born from love, pain, and unwavering belief, became the sound that inspired the world.